guys, welcome back to another episode of the Whisky Diaries. My name is Martin Lang. We're here live at the Glenfiddich Distillery. This is part of our Scotland Distillery Tour series. This is distillery number 4, I believe. I'm not going to count anymore because we're going to be doing too many. Now, the Glenfiddich Distillery is absolutely stunning. I cannot recommend this tour enough, especially if it's in your first or second distillery tour that you've done. The information that gets given is astonishing, but it's actually, they don't overload you with information. It's more about learning how Glenfiddich is done, but they don't give you, unless you ask, they don't give you particular specific details like Glenfarclas or Balvenie or other more boutique smaller distilleries, in which they literally give you so much information that sometimes if you haven't done many tours, it could be a little bit overwhelming. So this is a great way to start your Scotland tour if you want to start like nice and slow. The distillery in itself was built around 1886. We're not going to go to a lot of history in here because we have done videos before, previous episodes on this channel in which we go through the history and what they've done and how they come to be, but we are going to go and talk about certain aspects in little bits and pieces. So the first one is, well, built in 1886 by William Grant. William Grant had 9 children, and the 9 children themselves and him built a distillery. At that time, the land and the distillery got about £700 to build, the equivalent of about £300,000 on nowadays money. But the distillery itself now is worth $1 billion, about £1 billion around that, with the current stock that they got. In 2019, they went through a massive renovation, which we'll go through in a little bit pieces. The water that they get comes from the river, the Duby the Robbie Doo river that is actually gets shared with Balvenie, all the water. They go through about 160 tons of barley a day. It's a lot. It's a lot of barley just to make so much whiskey. They have 4 mash tuns. If you've seen other of the videos of the distilleries that we've done, usually a distillery will have like maybe 1 or 2 mash tuns. Most of the times it's just 1. This one has 4. Those 4s are 41,000 litres. 2 of them were built in the 1960s, and then they got another 2 got added in the recent renovation in 2019, just to basically expand production. They make 21 million litres of whiskey a year. It is a lot of whiskey. Anyway, the distillery is huge. They do the standard for the fermentation for the water to extract the sugars from the barley. They do the standard 3 waters, 65 degrees for the first one, 75 for the second one, and 85 for the last one. Basically, the first 2, what it does is just extracts all the sugar possible, just to make sure that they get the sugary water to create the fermentation. The last one, it basically just strips all the rest and just gets taken and combined with the pot ale from the first distillation to create methane in the biogas plant that they have here. Glenfiddich, like Balvenie, because it's sister distilleries, they're fully self-sustained. They create energy more than consume, and they give it back to the grid, or they sell it. So it's a great distillery. They've been working on this for decades, and they've finally been able to actually combine it and just make it work 100%. Now, they have, this is incredible, because when you walk through the distillery tour was done by Gail, a lovely lady. It was her last shift, actually. She retired after she did the last tour with us, which was actually quite emotional. It was nice to see. When they take you to the washback section, it's insane. They got 48 washbacks at 41,000 litres each. All of them are from Canadian pine, and they're about 5 meters tall. It's an insane room. It's huge, and currently, as I got told by Gail, is the biggest distillery in Scotland. They just produce an insane amount of whiskey. The fermentation takes for 72 hours. Balvenie, for instance, the sister is 60. Kinimbi is 72 as well. But like, for instance, Glenfarclas is 106. This is just to give you an idea how each distillery does its own thing with the fermentation, and ours changes the the final product, and the spirit that you're going to make changes a lot from the fermentation. Now they have 43 stills. After that, obviously, we got taken to the still house. The still house, they have two still houses. One that was the original one that was made in the 1960s. Oh well, from back in the day. They have 15 stills there, and then they built one brand new one in 2019. That is absolutely stunning and it's insane. You go in there and they have in total they have 43 stills in total. The one in the new one is 28 in total, and basically they, for what I could tell, because when you go into the room, they're wrapped around, so you can't really count them yourself because there's so many. So Gail told me that it is about basically double the amount of stills, spirit stills than the wash stills. So you got 20 spirit stills and 8 wash stills, and the different sizes. The 20 spirit stills is 5,900 liters, and the wash stills is 9,500 liters. So way bigger wash stills than the spirit stills. The interesting fact about Glenfiddich as well is that the spirit stills, the two different ones. So they have two different sizes, shapes. Sorry, one of them is more like the common style, kind of like the little blob and the still, and then the other one has a little like a completely different shape as well on the line arm. Gail told me that basically both of the stills, they produce two completely different types of spirit, but both of them gets combined and put into the cask as equal parts. So it is incredible to see. It's a massive distillery, and also, as you know, Glenfiddich is the biggest seller, the best single malt seller in the world. The reason why we're drinking so much single malt nowadays is because Glenfiddich was the first pioneer on pushing single malts as a premium product. Before Glenfiddich, most people were drinking blended whiskies and so on. Now, after that, we got taken over to the old still house, in which they have the spirit stills is 9 spirits and 5 wash stills, 4,550 liters, and 9,100 liters for the wash stills. The rest is pretty much standard. The low wines of the wash stills that produce a 23% ABV alcohol. The spirit stills that produce a 70 to 72% ABV alcohol, and the heart is about 15 to 20%, so very similar to Balvenie as well. So we got taken out to the warehouse to try to look at the warehouse and how things are made in the casks and what sort of casks they got. Now, this is very different to Balvenie and to many whiskies that I've seen before, in which they, for instance, let's just say you're talking about the Glenfiddich 12-year-old. They look at 12-year-old barrels from Oloroso sherry and from American oak, and then basically what they do is they marry them in vats. They got thousands of 3,000 liter pine wood vats for 3 months. So basically they grab the barrel of a 12-year-old American oak, 12-year-old Oloroso cask. They put 85% of American oak in the pine vat, and then 15% of the Oloroso one. They put it on the vat for 3 months, let it rest there, let it marinate, and then they bottle it. A lot of distilleries, they do this, but they do it in stainless steel tanks. Glenfiddich believes, or the Grand family believes, that they want to stay true to the way they used to do it back in the day. So the vats are done out of pine wood, Canadian pine wood, if I believe so, and they just let it rest for 3 months. Then after this, once we went through the warehouse and they showed us all the casks, they also show us how the solera vat is made, and how Glenfiddich, the 15-year-old solera method, is done. We'll go through that in a second. So after the warehouse, they took us to the tasting room. In the tasting room, we tried 5 whiskies, which is basically the core range of Glenfiddich. There is another tour in which is called the Pioneers Tour, I believe, in which they take you to one of the warehouses and you can bottle your own little Glenfiddich, similar to what they do in Balvenie. But unfortunately, we didn't have the time to do that tour here, but it's an option. So we tried the 12-year-old, the 15-year-old, 18-year-old, and then the 23-year-old Grand Cru, which is absolutely delicious. So the 15-year-old solera, going back to the way they make it, if you don't know what solera method is a way of making sherry and rum for that matter, in which they put rows of barrels, and the bottom barrels are the oldest ones and the top ones are the youngest one, and they put the sherry through the top, and by the time the barrels are finished, they will take 50% of the bottom, then the 50% of the middle will go down, and the third, and so on and so on. And basically what it does is just marries all the sherries into one single, basically more consistent product. Because they can't do that in Scotland, because all whiskies have to be over 3 years and 1 day old, what they did is they made a massive vat of, I believe the size of the vat is 38,000 litres, has never been emptied since 1998. And basically what they do is they never let it go down over 50%, and they keep doing the same ratio of 20% American oak, 20% Oloroso sherry and 80% American oak. And they basically, after they reach 15 years old, they put it on the vat and they keep marrying it. But the interesting fact about this is that you might be tasting in a 15-year-old bottle of Glenfiddich, you might be tasting whiskies that goes back all the way to 1998. And the whiskies, as you know, like they change from year to year, from barrel to barrel and all that stuff. So it creates a very unique whiskey. And we tried it, and the Solera, I'm sure you had it. The 15-year-old Solera is a cracking whiskey. So is the 18. They're just outstanding whiskies. You just can't go wrong. Then after that, you finish the tour, and then you can go to the visitor shop, to the gift shop, basically. And usually I don't plug too much of gift shops because you know what I mean, it's all distilleries started. But this is a really, really nice gift shop. We actually bought a few things. This scarf is from Glenfiddich as well, 100% cashmere. And then you can bottle your own version of 15-year-old Glenfiddich Solera method. So this one customs cask strength, and you actually get it to pull it out of a barrel, and it changes. Once the barrel is done, then they do another one. You can put your own label. Basically you can sign the book, you can sign the label. It's a really, really nice experience. And also there's a lot of really cool, unique little gifts that you can get there. Actually, one of them is I got really lucky, and my wife at the time decided to give me a little present, and they have this little thing that is basically like a little, looks like a clock, and then you open it, and then you get a little, kind of like, looks like silver, little shot glass. That's how we're gonna be tasting the whiskey today. So let's open this one. So beautiful packaging, tells you exactly what you get in, the distillery malt, the tasting notes, and yeah, it's an incredible packaging. We haven't even opened it yet, so let's just have a look. Okay. Excellent. So as you can see, it's pretty crystal clear liquid, 56% ABV. This is batch number 84, bottle number 27. You can see my name in there and the date that got bottled. And then I'm just gonna open it, see if we can, because it's actually quite hard. You actually have to press really hard to put the cork so it doesn't open. And then we're just gonna go in the little, there we go. So it's not as professional as a Glen can, but I'm sure you can you can still smell, yeah, absolutely smell the whiskey. So this has all the sherry, not the sherry, all the spiciness that you get from the 15 Oloroso sherry, 15 Solera cask, and then the vanilla and the honeys that you get from the American oak. Oh. It is a very, very particular whiskey, this one. For some reason, it tastes very different to what you would get from a 15-year-old, the normal Solera. It's not in a bad way, but it has like a little bit of a soap aftertaste. We actually tried it before we bottled it inside, and it was actually delicious. It has nothing to do with the vessel that I'm drinking from. But it has like... yeah, it's just a very particular chewy flavor. It's delicious and it's definitely worth getting, but it's just very different to what you would get from the Solera normal 15-year-old. So it's definitely something to recommend and to have it. Again, this distillery was stunning and a really, really good experience for anybody. Even if you've been to 2,000 distilleries in your lifetime, it's good to come here and to see it again and walk around. There's a pond there full of ducks. Like the grass is bright green, old buildings, and the staff are so friendly. It's a shame that the restaurant was closed at this time. I'm sure they're going to reopen it again, but they do great food here as well. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for listening. I'm going to sit down here in this bench, which, by the way, all the benches in the distillery are made from recycled wood from the Washbacks. You can see actually here Glenfiddich Washback number 3. So it's actually really nice little details, and it's a lovely days here in Scotland. So hopefully we'll see you in the next videos, and enjoy yourself. Slàinte mhath.